to measure our success not only by promises, but by actions, accountability, and resilience in the face of most pressing challenges, like we had this morning when we attended a court of a 6-year-old in Protea. Those are very, very challenging times. We take this opportunity to outline our recent progress, which directly defend democracy and advance freedom. Corruption is a significant impediment to democracy and undermines our people's freedom. Our stance against it remains resolute. The ANC-led government has taken a firm line in advancing transparency and rooting out corruption, recognizing that freedom cannot flourish in a society where public resources are abused. The Special Investigating Unit, the SIU, continues to play a pivotal role, with recent actions reinforcing this administration's commitment to holding individuals accountable, no matter who you are or the position that you hold, and ensuring public funds are returned to the people. President Ramaphosa's recent proclamations empower the SIU to address corruption proactively across all government levels. Our administration is reinforcing policies for transparent procurement, implementing real-time digital tracking, and ensuring public access to government contract. These actions send a powerful message. There will be no compromise on integrity within this government. Corruption weakens democracy and deprives our people of essential resources. Every step we take to combat it is a step towards strengthening the freedoms enshrined in our Constitution. In terms of our security and crime, the security of our communities is non-negotiable. And I want to repeat this again. The security of our communities is non-negotiable. Crime, especially violent crime, has a devastating impact on individual freedom, and addressing it remains one of our highest priorities. As I said today, we were in Protea to do that. Over 10,000 newly trained police officers have been deployed to high crime areas, reinforcing police visibility and enhancing public safety. For sure, you have seen some of us at the pass out in Philippi and also in Bishop. This deployment is not merely about numbers, but about ensuring that every South African in every community feels safe and protected. Our administration have committed to increasing the resources available to the South African Police Services, not because I am there. Introducing body cameras, surveillance equipment, and technology that ensures accountability. Specialized units tackling gang violence, narcotics, mass killings that are happening in the Eastern Cape, extortionists, and organized crime are active in hotspots. These units have led to the disruption of gangs' network and a measurable decrease in violent crime, directly improving the safety and freedom of our communities. By fostering community policing partnership, we aim to reinforce the freedom of our communities to live without fear. As we're joining the communities in Protea today, we were also thanking them for coming along and making sure that we arrest the perpetrator. So it was clear that as we work with communities, we will be able to combat crime. This government believes that freedom thrives where safety and accountability are guaranteed, and our commitment to this vision is unwavering. Effective border management is fundamental to the security and stability that protects our democracy. The Border Management Authority is a key development in securing our borders against threats such as human trafficking, smuggling, and undocumented immigration. The BMA have already enhanced border patrols and surveillance along critical entry points, ensuring that freedom within our borders is not compromised. A particular area of focus has been addressing human trafficking and illegal smuggling, threats that deeply undermine individual freedom. Additionally, the Border Management Authority has been working to regulate foreign-owned spaza shops, implementing fair and lawful measures to ensure that South Africans have equal economic opportunities. Through ongoing work on the white paper on migration, we are establishing a system that respects both the rights of lawful migrants and the stability of our communities. These measures underscore our respect for lawful, regulated immigration that promotes freedom for all within South Africa. By enhancing border security and immigration controls, we are protecting the sovereignty while ensuring that every South African can pursue opportunities in a secure and stable environment. And in terms of defending democracy, we also require not only the protection of our borders and the enforcement of laws, but also the active preservation of freedoms within our society. The ANC-led government is committed to the independence of our judiciary, which is critical to upholding the rule of law. A free and fair judicial system guarantees that freedom is protected, that freedom is preserved, and that justice is served without bias. As part of ensuring water security, key initiatives to ensure the vigorous implementation of the National Water Master Plan, reviewing our water rights, and issuing of our water license to benefit all communities and balance the needs of all sectors, including implementing the emergency plans during water crises such as drought as part of rolling out our disaster management plans. The ANC is happy with the progress being made in projects that are geared towards ensuring water security. The following key projects, such as the Lesotho Highlands Water Project Phase 2, Mzimvubu Water Project to construct the new Ntabelanga Dam, new dam and transfer tunnel on the Mkomazi River, Tzaneen Dam in Limpopo, among others, are a clear demonstration of the commitment of government. The 7th administration is actively addressing the threat of misinformation, which undermines democracy and erodes public trust. By working with media, civil society, and digital platforms, we aim to create a reliable information environment that upholds public freedom. Furthermore, we aim to invest in civic education, particularly for our youth, to instill democratic values and an understanding of their rights and responsibilities. This empowers young South Africans to be active participants in the governance of our country, defending the freedoms that our democracy guarantees. These initiatives reflect our commitment to creating a South Africa where democracy is vibrant, freedom is protected, and every citizen is empowered to participate in shaping our future. We believe that democracy thrives where freedom is not only protected, but advanced. In closing, these 100 days set a tone of action, accountability, and unwavering commitment to the principle that define us as a democracy. The ANC-led government will continue to defend democracy and advance freedom, guided by our vision of a South Africa that is safe, just, and inclusive for all its citizens. We continue to focus on this mandate. I thank you very much, and ke a leboga.
Thank you very much, Comrade Polly, for that. So reading this on behalf of the panel. At this point, I am going to invite any questions to what has been presented today and the subject areas that we are focusing on. I am looking for takers. I will start to my left this time round. Yourself, my brother, and then I'll come this side.
Thank you, Howard Maholero from UFM. There seems to be a trend that some of the most gruesome crimes are committed by people who are either out on parole or on bail. Are you not concerned that there's too much emphasis on human rights to the extent that the rights of offenders almost weigh equally with those of their victims? Perhaps if the law was, did not give people that much benefit of doubt in terms of being presumed to be innocent until proven guilty. It seems it's easy to get bail or parole. Even people who get life sentences come and roam the streets again.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'll come this side. Newsroom.
Junior Kuman from Newsroom Africa. Just on the issue of mass shootings, you spoke about a discussion that took place. Can you give us more details on what exactly law enforcement is trying to do to deal with this situation? Because at the moment, it just feels like law enforcement is being reactive and there's nothing that is being done to try and ensure that this gang violence is maybe halted in terms of what is happening, especially in the Eastern Cape and the Western Cape. But also on the water issue, we know that Gauteng has announced level 1 restrictions in all 11 municipalities. And the reason that was given was that Rand Water doesn't have enough money at the moment to procure more water. Was this discussed, and will there be more money made available either from national or the province to the province Gauteng? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take the third hand over there.
Good evening. Shannon Merrick, Kasi Broadcasting Africa. All protocol observed. After this food poisoning incident of the spaza shops and so on, luckily for us, we have people in townships and so on. So we went to people and try and find out what's the problem. And there was 3 things they identified. And I'm more worried about the third one, which is the silent killer. And that's what I want a response on. One is illegal foreigners, illegal shops not complying to all this compliance, which we all know, which government is dealing with. 2 is the issue of house shops or spaza shops repackaging goods. Let's say this item will expire in a month's time. They repackage it to say it will expire in 3 months. But the last point is the one that we are worried about, because I think, and from our research, this is the silent killer. The spaza shop owner might not be intending to kill anyone, but he wants to kill the rats. So he has cats on his property to kill the rats, but then he used this poison, 2 steps and all those things and that. And when the rat dies or is on the way to die, it walks over some of the food items. And I think that's the silent killer. So how is the ANC going to, maybe we're not really sitting with foreigners that want to kill our children. Maybe it's the 2 steps or that rat poison. How can we find a way to identify and in terms of health, look at that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will take the last hand and then we will, can I take you in the second round, Amanda? Heidi?
It's Heidi Jockas from ENCA. I just want to ask, in terms of these agreements that you have signed, for example, in the Western Cape, and then you signed one in the city of Joburg and one in Tshwane as well. Maybe the 2 in Gauteng are too soon Okay, however many. But the Western Cape was the first, and it was a couple of months ago. Have you seen any results in that? Do you think that that is yielding any results in terms of really getting to the bottom of crime? Yeah, that's it for now. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. I am going to, at this point, maybe we should give it a go, Amanda, and then we'll take a second round.
Sorry, I'm just curious, or I'd like to get a comment. As you said that the government is, or the ANC wants to fight corruption and you're serious about corruption. But we sit here this weekend and the ANC is going to be discussing issues of integrity, and we've seen a number of your members appearing in court for corruption. I just would like your comment on that.
Thank you very much. I will turn to comrades. I will start to ask Comrade Magdingwana to tackle all matters that are in the purview or policing. I think we will do it here. No, it won't work because, yes, I'll ask you to come forward to respond to the questions, and also to ask Comrade Mutsualedi to speak to questions that have to do with the food poisoning, representing government in terms of the interventions that are being made in that regard. Over to you, Comrade Senzo.
Well, thank you very much, Comrade Hlengiwe, Comrade Bashielo, Comrade Aaron. 3 questions, and then I'll also respond on what. First one, paroles and people in prison committing heinous crimes. These are crimes in both categories. Now, let me start with prisons, those people who are in prison. These are crimes that shouldn't be existing and shouldn't be happening anywhere in the Republic. And we shouldn't be talking about that. South Africa has done very well building prisons, some of them maximum prisons, well secured. But where we have tended to be weak is to make sure that whoever is in prison doesn't get any support, any equipment, any freedom to then start committing these crimes via coordination of any kind, be it via corrupt warders or via any other person who visits prisons at any time, bringing these unwanted equipments through which they make coordination. It's happening as a result of lack of optimized security in prisons, so that they are unable, even if they do their best, but unable, they're disabled altogether. Now, we've had a meeting with our colleague, Minister Groenewald, raised these issues of imprisoned people committing crimes. He agreed with us that it's a grave matter. He knows it happens. He's concerned about it. He's addressing it. And they are addressing it. And we're hoping that soon we'll hear announcements and see the last of this matter. Because it really is something that is terrible when you think of somebody doing a life in prison, then coordinating and then murdering 10 people or so. That's the first one. Then the second one, paroles. I think it has come to, again, to the attention of the board that deals with paroles and the Department of Correctional Services that we need to adjust some of the criteria that we've been using for I don't know how long. We need to scale up, rise to the occasion that some of these people are allowed to leave prisons not ready. In other words, they defeat all the criteria that are there, declaring them ready to rejoin communities. And therefore, we release people that we shouldn't be releasing via parole systems. Now, what's happening now is Department of Justice and all of us in the JCPS, we are overhauling, we're in the process of overhauling the criminal justice system to close the loopholes and the gaps that so far have been identified and are being anticipated. I think it has to do with people, I mean, in the older days, when you arrest a person, you would tell them that you are under arrest. You don't even arrest them. You will see a policeman on a bicycle, and in front of him there would be somebody who is supposed to have been arrested, but not arrested. He will go up until where he's told to go. There was that understanding. Today you can't be in a bicycle and you are busy behind a suspect. He will laugh at you and leave you there and then and disappear. So certain things have advanced, have developed, and we must then develop our systems to that level. Number two, mass shootings. This is a recent phenomenon all of us are talking about in the Eastern Cape. Whereas we may have seen some mass shootings elsewhere at any other time, it would be in a different context altogether. People would be fighting, and then a number of people would be killed, or would have been fighting, but this one, where there is no suspicion, there is no apparent clash, and then suddenly a number of people come and murder 18 people in 2 homes. Even in Lusikisiki, people were seeing this for the first time. In Lusikisiki and in OR. While you are dealing with that, 6 other people get murdered. While you are dealing with that, 5 people get murdered. This is one district. Now we're discussing it. I was discussing with Premier Mabuyanu, we had a discussion with the deputy ministers to say, let us start this thing like it's a case study so that we intensify our understanding. Going there and investigating after the incident and arresting like we have done and processing people through the justice system is one thing. It is not enough to enable us to understand. Remember, it looks like all these suspects come from the same area. Now, some of them appear to be multi-murderers, those that have been arrested now. And some of the weapons, police suspect that those weapons that we've seized up to now may have been used in other instances in the past, like last year. Remember, there are cases that emanate from last year. So you have one area, then you have local murderers who may have been committing murders for quite some time, and then they run away or they go underground, and then they resurface after 3 or 4 years. Then you have parolees as a dynamic, that somebody who would have been who is a parolee, comes back and take from where they left off. And then you have possibility of somebody in prison who may have coordinated. So you have got a number of dynamics. And you have people who are kind of related, who became victims, related, closely knit family people who may have been, who are related. You have more and more and more dynamics. So we need to start all this, collate this, but we're agreeing that we do need to have a reflection with the people in the Eastern Cape, possibly taking 2 days, to reflect on this that has happened beyond just arresting and processing people, so that in part we help people to understand this, grow beyond it and go through the trauma and overcome it, but also in the whole of the OR, in the Eastern Cape, and all of us in South Africa, so that we understand this thing better. Yes, we now have Western Cape, Atlantis, and then Bishop Levis. There, it's slightly different because it may take both forms, relations and then gang related. And where there are gangs, you must know there are drugs. And drugs, fighting drugs, I would say we are in the mood of starting afresh on drugs. Not to say what has happened up to now should be cast aside and left off, but getting to a new era or stepping up our fight against drugs, we see what we should be doing, looking at the gaps that we have had in the past and all of that. That is the mood in which we are. We are preparing for that, and we'll get to that. Then we'll leave that. Then we go to the last one, which is agreements. Any results? Now, results are elsewhere. The first results that I think are a pointer directly to this. In Roodepoort, there were 7 people who got into a mall called Clearwater Mall. And they went to a shop, and then they did what they did. Within a few minutes, as they prepared to go out, or they had just stepped out, now a number of people coordinated, and this thing was catch in a camera in an operational center somewhere. And the person who operates there started phoning different people, SAPS, JMPD, the other specialized units like detectives, but also the air wing and all of those. That's why within a very short time, the first helicopter landed there. And even private security companies, exactly what we were envisaging. What happened? These people were caught in their tracks. What else? All 7 of them. What else happened? All the firearms that used there were seized, and they're being processed. Now, we have said to the officials in the civilian secretariat, we want this as a case study. Right from when they received information to when these people were arrested. We want to calculate how long did it take for this to happen, that to happen, that to happen, and that to happen, and how long did it take for them to apprehend, even though they shot at police and 2 police were injured, but they are stable. And then we want to make it a case study to take elsewhere. But in the Western Cape, we are seeing progress generally in line with what we said. Remember, we said boots and alignment is one thing. What needs to follow is data, it's cameras, its systems, all of that. That is on course. There's no doubt about it. But it hasn't gone out to a point where we see it in terms of results as operating. Let me go to your last question. If you could remind me on water.
We don't have money.
That we don't have money for?
Yeah, the rent water.
The rent water situation.
And water restrictions currently.
Well, we do listen and entertain, and from the perspective of security, when Pauline convenes meeting, talk about water, and also even in SAPS, from the perspective of stability in the country, and water is one of the things that are very irritating to people. When you watch TV and suddenly you want to go and bath and there's no water, and you see a government minister, you are likely to insult on TV and so on, and switch off your TV and so on. So it's an emotional and sensitive issue. You go to the bathroom, and I always said, when you go to the bathroom, the first thing when you close the door of the bathroom, you strip, and then you open the tap at the shower. Now, when all of a sudden there's no water coming out of the shower, and you are stripped, you really you become angry on the spot because you have calculated minutes and so on. Now, it is in government. It is treated with that sensitivity. Now, the last time I had a chat with my colleague Peme, she said it is not true that there's no money. And it's not a money issue. It is a water services management issue between the water board and the service authorities, which are municipalities and all of that. They haven't risen to the occasion, and the last time I checked, they were not there. You know in which sense? This dam, she said so, it is full. Okay, there is the Vaal River Dam. Despite whatever is happening in terms of the canal, but it's full. But what happens if you can't manage water such that you don't lose water via leaks, via supply, which is unaccounted for, and you don't collect, you don't bill correctly, you are bound to get to a situation where whilst you have enough water in dams, but it doesn't translate to water in homes. And that is what we need to do. And therefore, they've taken measures, which she said she has announced. And we are supporting her on that, because when we get to a point where they all step up the whole area for a consecutive number, a certain number of days they don't have water, things come to a standstill and they can do anything that they want. So it's not a question of money per se. It's more a question of management and turning the corner on that. And I believe that our colleagues in water are doing exactly that. They are dealing with it. Thank you.
I'm taller, Mustandi. I'm taller than the other two. Okay, thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you for this opportunity. I've got only one question to answer, but I think it's the most topical question. The question from Shano Merrick's of Kasi Broadcasting Corporation about this issue of food poisoning, which is very topical and has made our people very anxious. Let me start with definitions. Yeah. No. I'm just taking it. Not removing it. No. Yeah. Because we need to be on the same page. Generally, the word food poisoning that is being used here colloquially can confuse people. Medically speaking, in medicine, when we say food poisoning, we are talking about illnesses caused by bacteria or other toxins. Bacteria usually cause food poisoning when that food got spoiled. Let's say it's supposed to be in the fridge, it's not kept very well, it gets invaded by bacteria and it makes you sick. That is what food poisoning means. Whereas I know colloquially people believe somebody deliberately or maybe inadvertently put poison in food. That's not what it means. And I'm saying so because sometimes in schools it causes war where you have got some ladies cooking food and a doctor diagnosed food poisoning, and the villagers believe the ladies who are cooking that food poisoned the food. I experienced it as an MEC for education at some stage. It's quite unfortunate. So we would like you to help us spread this information that food poisoning is specifically illnesses caused by bacteria or other toxins. Then maybe you'll say, okay, other toxins means poison. I'm inviting you now, if you Google the word toxin, you can start with food poisoning, they will tell you what I was telling you. If you Google the word toxin, they will tell you that toxins are substances created by plants or animals that are usually poisonous to humans. And those animals is usually bacteria. So it goes back to bacterial contamination. I just thought I needed to clear that. Now, let me go to the present situation. There is a belief that the state was doing nothing. Immediately after the cases in Naledi, 5 government entities moved in. Firstly, a group of detectives from SAPS. They started moving in that area, conducting an intelligence-driven operation to see what could have happened. The Chief Directorate of Environment in the Department of Health, that is the directorate which in the past used to keep health inspectors. They also moved in to see if, some of the laws pertaining to food are being obeyed. The Department of Agriculture also moved in. So is the Johannesburg City. Johannesburg City has got a special team of environmental officials. They've got that unit dealing with environment. They also moved in. Then the National Consumer Commission also moved in to see if consumers are being protected. That happened quite some times, especially immediately after the Naledi incident. Now, last week, NEC joins the National Joint Operation Intelligence Structure met and said this matter must be considered as a threat to national security. Then they said whatever it is, because we're not sure exactly what it is, whatever it is, the end result is that people get sick and even die. So the Department of Health must lead and be the one that takes over this operation. And the department did so. As the minister, I was then obligated to call all the stakeholders, and we called them to a meeting where we discussed these issues. I took the liberty to invite NICD, which was not one of the structures that they've moved in, because they've got expertise. NICD is a BSL-4 laboratory, meaning biosafety laboratory level 4. Most of the countries on our continent have got level 1 or 2, maybe 3, but we are the only ones with level 4, if I'm not mistaken, with Egypt also. I don't know any other country that is at that level. So we trust them, we call them in. In the meeting, each of the structures I've mentioned gave us the work they've done, how far it was done, what is that which they've learned, etc., etc. But we also scrutinized the symptoms of these kids, especially those who died in Naledi. What type of symptoms were there? And we came up on a conclusion that when people die, maybe because food was laced with something, as I said, it might be food poisoning, in which means it's bacteria, definitely. Or it might be a chemical, or it might be a physical agent. And people were asking me, what do you mean by a physical agent? It might be because of radiation, for instance. That's physics. But after scrutinizing the symptoms, we concluded that here we are not dealing with food poisoning as in bacteria. We are dealing with a chemical. And the question is, what chemical? Can we find it? We even have an idea of what it could be, but we thought it would be unscientific to go around and say this and that chemical, because in science, these things can dribble you. You may announce something only to find that it's something else. So we said we need to move in. So for that reason, we organized health inspectors, and we got 80 of them from the city of Joburg and the Department of Health. They were joined by other officials from these other departments I've mentioned, agriculture, even border management authority, in home affairs, and even National Consumer Commission. And we all together organized 114 officials. They went to Naledi since Monday. Since Monday last week. No? I'm getting confused. It's Friday today. Oh no, since Monday this week. They went into Naledi. We used to believe there are 80 spaza shops there, but they went through 84 spaza shops. The ones in which they got and examined. What were they doing? They were trained by NICD on how to look for this chemical, which we think is the one that is causing problems. How to go around searching for it. And they actually did so, and they finished their work yesterday. Today, they were just mopping up. But during the course of that work, or maybe let me give you statistics, the 84 spaza shops they visited, 42 of them are owned by foreign nationals. That's 49% of the spaza shops. But 43, which is 51%, are owned by South Africans. So we're not searching foreign nationals only, we're just searching whatever is a spaza shop. During that search, they did confess that there is an illegal chemical which they buy from a mall in Johannesburg. They did say so. And 27 officials visited that mall, and they confiscated 1,456 grams of that chemical. And 4 people were arrested, 1 man and 3 women. They were arrested for that activity, but 2 of them, in terms of the laws of the country, were given bail of 2,000. The others are still in custody. And the confiscated chemical is in Johannesburg Central Prison. So I keep on saying chemical, because I don't want the irresponsibility of naming something. Now, I know that we are under pressure from both of you and the media and the public, that we are doing nothing while people are dying. We are under that pressure. But some of us have done postmortems before. We are resisting the temptation. Actually, I phoned the minister yesterday with respect, because I was worried when the commissioner started naming a chemical, because it was found in somebody's stomach. In postmortems, you don't just do that. You don't just find something in a human being and rush and make a conclusion. It might be dangerous. So what are we doing? As I'm speaking here, the NICD brought together experts. And who are the experts? Chemical pathologists are there. Forensic pathologists are there. Epidemiologists are there. And some clinicians who specifically specialize in symptoms and signs of somebody who has been chemically poisoned. They are all there. They have got this work, these swabs that were taken there, which have been sent to laboratories now as I'm talking. But the files of the children who have died, they are scrutinizing all those things, and they are scrutinizing the post-mortem results to try and make out exactly what is that which you are dealing with. What we mean when we are saying they are scrutinizing them, you are linking. If you do a post-mortem in somebody and find somebody in their stomach, you don't immediately conclude it might be an incidental finding. It's possible. It has happened before. They want to link that with the signs and symptoms. The clinicians who got these kids when they came to hospital, what is that which they found? Is it in keeping with the characteristics of this chemical? What is that which people found in the environment? Is it also fitting in? So that they link things together and we come to a final conclusion. What do we know now? For the moment, we believe this thing has got nothing to do with the school feeding scheme. We don't think the school nutrition program in our schools has got anything to do with this. More so, we already have evidence that the kids who got sick is not because they ate food at school. It's because they bought food at the gate outside the school, not inside the school. So for now, I'm saying for now, because we don't know what further investigations may show. Now, when you say, Shano, when you say illegal foreigners, I've already answered that. In Naledi, 49% of the shops are owned by them. The issue of repackaging of goods to change expiry date is one of the issues that we have marked. We are going to look for it, and I'll tell you why. And the issue of shop owners using some chemicals and all that, I've already told you that at least there are those who confessed about one and went to that mall in Johannesburg and it was found, but we'll give you further details after this analysis by experts, as I've said. The last thing I want to mention to you is this issue of spaza shops. There is a belief that we haven't been doing anything for a long time. This issue was raised for the first time to me in August 2022 or officially, because people used to talk about it, it was officially raised by traditional leaders. Because when I was a Minister of Home Affairs used to have 100 trucks that move around villages to get people take IDs, birth certificates, and all that. And I found that many villagers did not understand these issues. I had to go out with the trucks, and we have just increased the trucks by 120%. There were many. In every village I arrived, they said the traditional leader is calling you. When I go to the traditional crowd, they ask me about these things. What is the government saying about this? We see spaza shops all over, run by people we don't know, who did not even report to us that they are here. Many of them complained. Then I said, this issue needs a solution. In February 2023, that's last year, when the president opened the House of Traditional Leaders, we knew that many traditional leaders will be there, contra lesa. I then took that opportunity. I invited the Minister of Cogta, the Minister of Small Business Development, and Salga. I said, let's sit with the traditional leaders to listen to this problem. We listened. At the end of the day, we found that there is cross lines about who is responsible for what in South Africa. For instance, many people, if they found something wrong being done by a foreign national, it's Home Affairs. Anything. Whether they find the foreign national urinating in the center of town, Home Affairs. Whether it's invading land, Home Affairs. Then I realized this is going to be a problem. And we agreed that, look, let's spend at least 2 days with all these stakeholders. Those 2 days were spent here in Beachwood. In October last year, all the houses of traditional leaders came, except all 7. In Gauteng and Western Cape, they don't have. Contra Lesa came. There's a new organization of traditional leaders called Rolesa. Out of municipalities, we invited only district because we didn't want really a mass meeting. So we invited districts, and out of the 52 districts, 36 attended for the whole 2 days. The metros, out of 8, 6 attended. All House of Traditional Leaders, as I said, attended. We then invited the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, Small Business, Housing, then there was Home Affairs, there was Cogta. We spent the 2 days. At the end, one of our conclusions we made is that, we arrived at is that we are dealing here mostly with a problem of bylaws. Our municipalities applying bylaws. Whether you are opening a spaza shop wrongly or you are selling wrong things or things get expired, but we said we are dealing with bylaws. And as we listened to the municipalities that were there, they were understanding bylaws differently. We then, in our resolution, said, number 1, the Minister of Cogta must develop a set of common bylaws which all municipalities must use pertaining to spaza shops. In other words, they should get registered. In registering them, they must produce identification. If it's South African, it's fine. If it's a foreign national, there is identification, like a Section 22 permit, that's an asylum seeker permit, or a Section 24 permit, that is a refugee permit. They must produce those. If they produce documents, then the spaza shop must get registered. And in registering it, we must also register them to pay tax. That's what we agreed on. Then we said after it's registered, it means it's a legitimate spaza shop now. Whether it's owned by a foreign national or a South African, it's legal. It's legal, to say. Then we said the Department of Health will then come in. And on the door of each spaza shop, put a set of laws about what must happen. Number 1, for instance, we know that some of the spaza shop owners sleep in there. That should not be happening. They cook in there. That should not be happening. They wash in there. That should not be happening. They even worship in there. We can't stop people from praying, but holding a church service is something different. So we said the Department of Health will do that. Now, starting with Cogta, what work did Cogta do? They did draft that list of common bylaws, but in terms of South African law, when you come with these regulations and law, we consult. That's what our law says. So they consulted. In Home Affairs, then when they gave us the document, We had a one-day workshop to see if that document does not contradict the immigration laws of the country. Then we went through it. Then they said they've sent it to SALGA municipalities to give input. When they put inputs come back, they will gazette. Unfortunately, this was overtaken by elections and changes that happens during elections. So that gazetting is a process that has not been completed because they must take what people have said, those who gave inputs, and gazette it and let this work start. So that is where we are. And let me finish by saying, we are hoping that on Monday, the analysts who are sitting there in NICD will have progressed somewhere. They won't have finished, I can assure you. Why? Because some of the samples have still gone to laboratory. They will have gone somewhere towards where we can give you the progress, and we'll do so most probably on Monday. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade Senzo and Comrade Aaron, for answering. Just to give you a feedback, Comrade, just to give you a feedback, we were just sitting here with Comrade Senzo. They've arrested 3 suspects at Bishop Lavis. And the one is 17-year-old, the other one is 24-year-old, and then 29-year-old. So we've already done the arrests. So it shows you that we are on top of issues. And as we're asking, yes, it is working, what we're doing. In terms of corruption, you asked about corruption and integrity. It's going to be the subject of these 4 days that we are here. And after we've discussed, the ANC or the NEC will take a decision. And I think Comrade Matlengi and the SG, as they do their briefing as normal, they will give you an answer into that. But the mere fact that we are taking 4 days to discuss those issues, it shows you how serious we are in terms of dealing with the camp. Thank you very much for your attention, ladies and gentlemen.
We are not done. My brother over there. Okay, thank you very much. I take it that matters that are really pertinent and are top of mind for many South Africans, particularly in the area of crime fighting and corruption combating, as well as the area of what are we doing with what we're experiencing, the death of children, what it is that government is currently doing to stamp that, but do so on an informed basis, that those matters have been clarified by our panelists. And with that, I want to just check that I haven't left anybody out, but I am happy to close the session. We're comfortable? All right, thank you very much, colleagues. Look out for the second briefing that takes place tomorrow at 11, and you can check our advisory because it does provide a lot of detail. I did want to